Cancer, hello and welcome to your weekly reading for October 20th through to the 27th. Let's dive right in. So it's funny, it's like I know I need to move my camera here and I'm giving it like side eye, but also there's the semblance of who you were and who you are now. There's like a complete identity, not crisis, but pivot because you guys have Mars in your sign helping you to sort of heal because there is Chiron in Aries and Mars is ruled by the sign of Aries. Um, Ancient rulership was for Scorpio. So this with Mars in your sign is letting us into as the sun enters Scorpio, it ingresses Scorpio this week, and we have Mercury in the sign of Scorpio. And in Aries, we have Chiron moving, retrograding to 20 degrees this week with the North Node in a cozy 8-degree orb to Neptune. So it's like you guys are deciding that you could be empowered in and of your own accord because the reason that you are empowered, you're just, I am. Like you just can claim that. That's been something I've been working on to help me with any sort of ailments, even my sinuses. I am my full soul self. And it's interesting, last night I've been doing a little bit of research on ancient Christianity, like before it was called Christianity. Early like Pistis Sophia, Gnostic orientation, the people who were actually hanging out with Christ versus the council of elders who decided to write the Bible. We have the unseen and the maiden. So it's funny how this yoni opening looks like an eye, and this blooming that's happening, and we see that there's a forest spectrum. It might be the first time I've noticed this, but it's like forest with rain or stars, and an opening to the unseen. So maybe this is telling of your fertility story, of your creation myth, like where you came from. And yes, you were born from your mother's womb. And what I was researching about Christ yesterday is that Christ was light. So even like it was according to one sector of like the early Gnostic religions. So interesting. Like it was just so interesting. It blew my mind. I studied philosophy and religion, and maybe you guys have things that you've studied to where they gave you a glimpse into the unseen, but now you're starting to understand from a realistic standpoint of how this manifests. Because at the day I'm looking on, Friday, October 25th, we have the moon in your second house. So the sign of Leo, how you guys are seen is essentially, and the us scenes are coming through this as well. There's like, I'm feeling for my collective, my audience, looking at the foundations of Christianity, like the book of Jude, Jeu, the Pistis Sophia, just getting your mind around Wikipedia articles. That's what I'm doing, just scratching the surface because I plan to take a deep dive and I want to chart my course accordingly. But you guys are seen as your foundation for your emotional nature, and the ways that maybe you have allowed for yourself to be seen in the past haven't allowed for you to fully encompass who you are and who you're meant to be and who you're becoming as a result of that. And I just have this feeling on my calendar that I'm looking at. Thursday, the 17th, when the sun hit 24 degrees Libra, could be a big day because Chiron did conjunct the moon on that day. And we had our full moon in Aries, which allowed for us to shed emotional processes. So distortions from like the first, the so-called fall of man. It's just so interesting. I don't even feel like I could say it on here. It's just too interesting. But the temptation of Eve was to actually have children, Seth, Cain, and Abel. Isn't that interesting? Like just a perspective shift to where it's like, let's see what was written, because this is what was written down. Like a lot of ancient myths were spoken traditions, which is why they've been lost to time, because people came, languages changed, aside from a few groups, a few small groups, and probably some that were never documented groups because they know how to hide themselves. They've never changed their languages. And one of them is, gosh, now I'm blanking on their name, but regardless, we have the Six of Cups. So you are finding yourself alongside people who are seeking this emotional fulfillment. They're a collective, maybe they're Venusian in nature. The Two of Wands, I love this card. It's like her ancestors showing her how to make fire and how to properly wield her passion. So emotional fulfillment might not come the way that it once did for you. Like, you guys might be growing and changing and revisiting your creation myth. And I love that they're all feminine energies in these cards. So the Daughter of Discs is standing here, working her wand, sending out a signal to the universe, and she's holding a key. And also what fell is the Seven of Cups. So we had the Seven of Cups, and then we got the Six of Cups. So it's like, in a spiritual sense, you feel fulfilled. In a sense of value, which is your fourth house, Libra, your emotional foundation, you feel valued there. And maybe it's something that you're working on, and over the course of the week, it will become more clear. I'm smiling because my husband keeps lowering and raising the garage, which drives me bananas. It really does. And it's one of those things where it's like, how I handled that a year ago was very different. It was very explosive. It was very angry. But now I can like be a little, like, okay, how many times is he gonna do it? And I just can count and laugh, and then I'm gonna go to him later and be like, really? And it's maybe like you guys are having this shift where it wasn't emotionally fulfilling. Some of your emotional processes that you had, it's like something that really drove you bananas, and then you took that to the nth degree. You were like, you know what? I'm angry, so now I'm just gonna like be corrupt. And it's like, we can properly wield that passion to where we don't just get smoke. Where we don't want the smoke, we want the actual fire so that we can cook our corn and make popcorn. We want to, take ancient grains and make rice, or, leavened bread. Okay, so the Seven of Cups and the Six of Cups. Sensual dreams, bright ideas, astral plane dreaminess. And it feels like, this is you guys floating with Neptune and Saturn in your ninth house of beliefs. And I have the feeling that because of that North Node in orb to Neptune, are tuning forth to God, which is kind of what she's doing, there's this ability to really know what's for you and what's not. So it may not even be for you anymore to get like argumentative and testy. It's like something that once perturbed you can now be like a source of giggles or joy or lighten the mood, because it's like you have people in your life who love you unconditionally as you love them unconditionally. So when they do things that once set you off, as you grow, those could be things that actually bring you a lot of joy and comfort, which is so interesting how we can change and grow over time if we're willing to do the work on ourselves. Okay, so I'm not going to blow my nose. I am going to sit here and give you all a reading without blowing my nose. This is coming from Saint Germain, claiming that I can heal all the ailments. And I've been practicing it. I'm like, let's go. Let's see what this body can do when it's empowered and trusts in itself for birth. So underlying this 6 and 7 of Cups is being too frivolous or cautious with money. And what is money? It's just a form of a note that says we can trade something for this note that says you could trade something else for this note. Good business decisions, giving to those less fortunate. So that could have been like where you were being like stinty with yourself. You guys got the Dreamer, Aquarius got the Dreamer, and that represents your 8th house. Yeah, your energy, your vibration, which is also your ruling planet of the 8th house is currently in your 11th house. So you might be coming into close partnerships or unearthing why you got so close to certain people who were like not good for you, or like just shallow people. And you're like, oh, this is why, because I was being a little too stinty with myself. So I attracted people who were stinty with me, and they didn't give of themselves. They just expected for me to keep giving based on this agreement that I would have to earn a certain amount of money that really wasn't that much, but it gave me permission to say that my time was worth something, when really it's like, no, in and of yourself, you are worthy. In and of yourself, you are. You am. I am. Okay, Queen of Water. I'm just being silly. Tender-hearted, empathetic, patient, and loving. Yeah, it feels like now you guys are sort of beaming from the heart. You guys have that heart coherent field. And when our nervous system is regulated, when it's in sync with our heartbeat, our stomach, and our brain, we have a signal that we send out to the universe that says, hey, this is who I want in my life. This is who I am. Page of Earth with the 4 of Earth. So we're going from being stinty to being like having good news about financial matters, wanting to do something more challenging, a new area of study, which could be about your energy. You could be studying how to not take things to the nth degree, burn you and your loved ones out. It could be something like the dreamer you're starting over with, again, the Seven of Water. So I want to see over the course of this week what hits a 7. And Cancer, you guys are ruled by the moon, so we'll look at Monday. Oh, perfect. So on Monday, the moon is in your 12th house. It crosses over Jupiter. Jupiter being in your 12th house means that your 6th house energy of Sagittarius with Venus there could be this. It could be that you are earning more money, which does matter. In this third density, for at least the next like 50 to 60 years, we're probably going to still use actual like cash. People want that dollar bill, and we can still use it, but it doesn't mean that we can't start implementing other strategies, other ways to value our time, other ways to create value around our time, and to not bicker with people. Yeah, we got the Chariot. So you have 7 in here 3 times. 777 came up for you. That's the only repeating number, which is so interesting. Mars moves to 25 degrees in your sign with the moon in Cancer. So literally on Tuesday, Mars Day, when the moon enters your sign, that's when we have this forward momentum where you guys can start to really understand and value more of what the unseen has for you. So the Maiden speaks to like addictive energies, but as I was looking at this card, it looked like a woman who was actually like enacting some sort of like self-touch, but it looks more like she's covering up her chest. So I'm not going to show you guys the card because it's a little racy, but that could speak to this new area of study. Like if it's not you with someone who is very like fairy nymph-esque Cancer, if you guys are with someone like that, or you are someone like that, it's like you are starting to understand your energy and how to wield it in a way that I don't want to use the word addictive, but because of all these 7s, we do want to stay clear that we're not intoxicating ourselves, because in order to be in this I am presence, you want to be super conscious. So getting wasted or intoxicated or buzzed even is like, just start reaching for the spiritless alcohol, or like the alcohol that doesn't have any alcohol in it. Which, even though it seems silly, I've been sober now for like 2 years, and my life feels more in alignment. I feel more coherent with my heart, my choices. Like, it's just a complete lifestyle change that I feel like you guys could be ready to come into. If you can't tell, I'm all sorts of sinusy now, Cancer. So I'm gonna just do a quick little read of this, and I'm gonna blow my nose. To this cultural talk about the Mayans, and apparently there was some sort of substance that people would take to where they were just draining their sinuses. Like it was some sort of plant. And I'm like, maybe I was a shaman who gave that out in a past life. And it's like always just, regularly on a daily basis, having some lymphatic drainage and or youthing. And it's like, geez, this is how it happens. You have to like let a lot of stuff out in order to attain what you want to attain, to make these changes, to start to see your life in new ways and new terms from a sober standpoint, or from a place of really taking in what the divine has for you and what the divine wants for you in your life. 115, the unseen. The unseen is just as it sounds. We cannot see it, yet it sees us, watching and waiting with wisdom both kind and instructive. We feel this presence, sense it, intuit it, and then doubt its existence, though it rallies our attention time and time again. The energy of the unseen may come in many forms. A compelling dream, which it feels like the Daughter of Discs with this energy does feel very dreamy. Like the Queen of Water and the Chariot is saying like you have a dream and then you're willing to just go for it, which keep a dream journal, especially starting on Tuesday the 22nd through to the moon in Leo. because it feels like once the moon, technically on Monday, your ruling day, moon crosses over Jupiter. Tuesday morning, you might have some very interesting dreams that can provide a way ahead for you. Okay. It's natural to fear communications from the unseen as they challenge our perception of what's real. When this card appears, your guides are near. The eternal is present. The doorway between worlds is ajar. Listen. The sounds may seem as though they come from a distant land, but they call from your innermost chambers. Ooh, okay, so when dark, looming energy, unwillingness to forgive, when light, clairvoyant guidance, whispers of wisdom. Okay, now the maiden. Venus, so that is your 6th house, helping you guys to spruce up that value in your daily life of yourself. So maybe something to where it's like, I told this to a friend in a reading. I'm like, you might use the towel that's still wet and like constantly like, oh, I gotta use this cup that has a chip in it, and like just put the cup in your garden, allow it to be a planter of like, some sort of plant that's small, and go to the thrift store and buy yourself a new cup, or get something really fancy off Etsy, or like go and make one in a pottery class. But don't just stay fixed in this idea that your life cannot change, because our lives are always changing, Cancer. And if you live in a very sunny spot, get one of those racks that you could put outside and let the sun dry your towel. If you don't have like a nice washer dryer unit that you can use, or trade with a neighbor if they have a new washer dryer, and ask if you could just use their stuff once a week. And maybe you grow like watermelons or cucumbers or pumpkins, and you're like, I can give you a pumpkin a week, and they'll be like, oh my god, I love pumpkin bisque. And it's like one of these things to where something that you haven't been valuing is actually spot on, and it's going to help you to start a new cycle of learning how to get your passion going, learning how to have these emotional fulfillments by not stinting yourself and being like, oh, I'm a great gardener, but who cares about that? It's like everyone cares, Cancer. The maiden archetype is the epitome of innocent arousal, naive sensuality, and precarious purity. She is compelling and addictive because of her flawless and youthful glow. She's the first archetype in the trifecta of maiden, mother, crone, and rightfully so, because she has so much to learn. Okay, when light, curious, enchanting, sensual, full of vitality, when dark, pretends, projects, denies, or fantasizes. I feel like the unseen is showing you maybe these parts of yourself or another that you needed to see, so you can make your own decisions accordingly. And when we're codependent, we need other people's signature on what we feel. When we are interdependent, we know what we feel, we leave it as is, and other people can meet us, or they can pretend that they don't see it, or they can, go about their life acting as if it doesn't matter to them and doesn't care about how we are, Cancer, but that's not up to us. Extract yourself from any codependent relationships that are playing on your emotions at this time. The maiden is perfectly positioned for trouble to come her way and subject her to a challenge that leads to the next phase of womanhood. She must grow up, yet hesitates at the threshold, enamored by the charms of youth. The maiden represents the side of us that is riveted and curious, drawn to shadowy forests, dark nights, Knights, and taking just one taste of the poisonous fruit. Which, it's so interesting in my studies of this ancient Christianity. Like, I don't know what the text was. I do. I can find it. Your reading is carrying over, Cancer, because we have some stuff to talk about, okay? Basically, they said that Christ offered, it's Manichism. 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 So, another thing is that Christ is supposed to be the man in the moon, which I'm like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. Like, everyone talks about the man in the moon, and it's like, that's supposed to be Christ. So, you Cancerians are like the Christians, which people can like deplete you of your worth and try and drain you all you want, but it's your cross to pick up and bear for the salvation of your soul, to recognize the light that you are, and you're not just in this 3D density. Which is why the unseen came up in your reading, because you guys might have been corrupted in that way. Sagittarius, Gemini, thinking that, oh, these passing thoughts, they're just my crazy thoughts. I just have these crazy feelings. It's like, no, that's reality. And Jupiter, that sixth house energy in your 12th house, is making you guys like super in tune with what is more than just a passing thing. Even though the moon changes signs all the time, that would make sense because it's Christ consciousness. The moon is allowing for us to understand our emotions and then start directing things from the heart rather than the mind. Okay, and then also the poisonous fruit. Yeah, apparently in Manichaean thought, Christ actually told Adam to eat the fruit from the tree. And it's just an interesting thought because it's like the temptation of the flesh was Eve. So she tempted Adam into having children, which made humanity happen. And I'm not sure where the other women came from. Maybe those were like the fallen angels or something. But it tricked us into thinking that we are just this flesh suit and that we don't have a soul that's eternal. And then, of course, the powers that be have played on that with rhetoric, marketing, propaganda, all sorts of ideas that make us feel like, oh, it's just this life, YOLO. And it's like, no, you get many lives and you incarnate time and time again until you are able to recognize the symmetry of the soul. Look at your chart under equal to see where you need to balance that out. And I would definitely say to look at your 6th and 12th house if you want to go deeper into this energy, Cancer. To my subscribers, go on ahead and watch your sun, moon, and rising. Share one of my readings with a friend. Hit that like button. Support this channel. Help me to continue to grow. And Cancer, until, next time, all of my aloha.